is now time for our Hall of Fame Award. This is the highest honor that a GATA can bestow on someone. This is for those who have given an exemplary contribution to our profession. People like Henry Andell, an NATA founder, Georgia Tech athletic trainer for 21 years during the Bobby Dodd era. People like Jerry Ray, head at ATC for the Atlanta Falcons for 25 years, president of the Falcons Youth Foundation, NATA, and CETA throughout his career. Tommy Doc Smith, who built Georgia Southern's athletic training program from scratch. And Lori Mobley Gruber, who was inducted in 2011. And this year, our Hall of Fame inductee, James Radar Brantley, who's been at Newnan High School for 32 years. And one of his recommendation letters did the math for me. That's 11,680 days. So, and according to the letters, he has not missed a single football game in 32 years, which is very impressive. So we have Mr. Harry Mullins from East Coweta Board of Education here to talk a little bit about radar.
Thank y'all very much. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Thanks for the opportunity that I have to have a few minutes to talk about radar. He's been an interesting person for 30-something years. But let me first explain a little bit about my background so you will understand how Radar and I have had the relationship that we have. I was a student trainer in Southern Mississippi years ago. Worked under Larry Harrington. I don't know how many of you remember Larry. Jim Gillespie and I were student trainers there together. Gillespie was a senior when I got there as a freshman. So that's been quite a few years. I later came to Georgia after graduate school at Southern. Been there for 5 years, and was an athletic trainer at Newnan High School. It was 74 through 78. That's where Radar has been the last 32 years. Gentleman right there with a red sweater on, Max Bass, convinced me to come to Georgia to be a trainer in a high school. And something I will never forget, something I'm very thankful for that I did that. I made that decision back then. Since then, I've had the opportunity to serve on our Board of Education in Coweta County, which is right next door to here, for a number of years, and off and on for about parts of 4 decades. And a great community, it's a great place to live, and they have not regretted one day of that. The next part of this, for you to understand, is that I have an older brother, Leroy Mullins, that some of you may know, was a trainer at Ole Miss for 30-something years and retired from there. And so what I have to explain, to tell you all that, is that I have an understanding of what an athletic trainer should be. I've been around them my entire life. Following in my brother's footsteps coming out of Mississippi when I was 8 years old. Had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I had the opportunity to go somewhere else if I followed him, which I did later on. So I got a pretty good understanding of a trainer, what a trainer should be, and what a trainer should do. When I was asked to speak about radar, I tried to think of a few things that I could say that would best describe it. A few came very quickly, and I'd like to share some of those with you. He is hard-headed, stubborn, demanding, determined, relentless. Those things could go on and on. He is also a teacher, a fierce competitor. Coach McDonald, I saw you in the last ball game getting on to his fanny because he said something to a kid coming out of the ball game. It was none of his business. And you got on to him. But he's a very competitor. He's a great competitor. Can't stand to lose like any of us, I'm sure. He's a devoted, loving father and husband. that sacrificed a life for this profession to be elected. He's someone that's prepared, someone that cares a lot about people, someone that cares a lot about his church, someone that cares a lot about his community, someone that cares about each of his students and each of his student athletes for 32 years. And he taught in elementary school. So he knew the kids from elementary school. We taught in the same elementary school. I did the same thing for a few years. We taught in the same elementary school. He taught that. So he knew these kids from the time they entered there to kindergarten till they get through with high school until their kids came back to play, or their kids and kids were back in school with him. So he knows all of these people for years and years. Let me also give you an example of how some of these attributes, where I mentioned about Radar, how he used them. Radar and I had an understanding that if you needed me, let me know. You got to understand, like I said, athletic training was very important to me. Just let me know. Here's how it worked. Somehow, I would figure out there was time to just drop by the training room to see Radar, because surely he would not call a school board member and let him know he had an issue that he needed him to help him with. One of our former superintendents is sitting here, Blake Bass. Blake and I had that discussion different time, Radar. When I was a school board member, he was the superintendent, and I would go sit down, Blake, we need to do something. On one occasion, years ago, there was this particular administrator that happened to always walk out on the court or the field when the player got hurt and go out there and say, Radar, you got to get him up. We got to keep going. The game's got to keep going. Radar struggled with how to tell him no without getting fired. So one of these days I just happened to drop by. You didn't call me, Radar. I just happened to drop by the training room. And we sat down and he said, tell me what's going on. He said, how can I handle it? I said, the next time this happens, and he comes out on the court or whatever, the field, telling you that, just tap him on the shoulder and say, they're yours. You now got the responsibility. You now have the liability of an injured athlete. Have a good day. Sure enough, we were at a basketball game. Kid goes down. Administrator runs out and says, excuse me, Doug. It's not Doug Moore's principal back there now. It was on before Doug. He goes in. Administrator runs out, telling Radar, you gotta hurry up, get him off the court. We gotta get this game going. Radar stood up, tapped him on the shoulder and said, he's yours. You now have the responsibility and the liability. That was the last time that guy ever went out on the court. Seen Radar on numerous occasions. They have young coaches, or new coaches that just came in to the Newnan High School family. They wouldn't have the paperwork ready. They wouldn't have their things done that they're supposed to have. Coaches, you know. They wouldn't have the things done the way that he thought they should be, and he would chew their fanny out. Some of them would argue, some of them would want to fuss. They'd finally realize if I do it the right way or Radar's way, I will be okay. Same thing with student athletes that do not make it to treatment, do not turn in their equipment, do not do the things they're supposed to do. It didn't take them but one time to realize, I better do it the way Radar wants me. If not, I'm in for a long ride. I've seen another way. I've seen Radar give up his time in the summer to take student trainers to Ole Miss for student trainer workshops. He would drive the bus to Oxford, Mississippi, stay there with them, spend his time with them in the summer away from his family, take these kids to learn for no pay. He wanted them to learn and be prepared for what was ahead. Radar, you made an impact on both those students and the administration at Ole Miss more than you realize. Leroy and I talked about that a number of times. Not just them, but all the coaches that came through there and have since gone other places. They knew who you were, they know who you are, and they know that you cared about the kids. I've seen him teach his student trainers to tape, to treat, to be prepared for practice, prepared for the game, prepared for emergency situations. I've seen him witnessed him do this work for 32 years. Radar, you were a much better teacher at this than I ever was. I admired you for what you could do and have those kids prepared. It took a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of sacrifice to do it. Folks, I have witnessed student trainers in high school, in Newnan High School, do things, helping in that training room, that a lot of you don't get the chance to do in college until years down the road. It was amazing. At the high school level, you don't always have a trainer everywhere, as many of you know. I've seen him go on the field to take care of athletes in the opposing teams for year after year. It didn't matter if you were a fierce competitor in the game, but the kid was hurt, the student was hurt, and you go out on the field. I remember with Max Bass, my first year in 74 or whatever at Newnan, some kid goes down. There wasn't a trainer in hundreds of miles in high school. Kids go down. I'd go out on the field to take care of the opposing kid, and I came back. Max said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Max, the kid was hurt." He said, "Okay." That's all. I loved it. Watch you for all these years. It didn't matter who they were. If they needed help, you go help them. You take care of them. Living in this community next door with 100-something thousand people, if I was asked right now to give the one name that is most recognizable in our county, I would say Radar. Only a handful of us know who James Brantley is, but every one of them know the name Radar. That's because he has touched so many lives for the past 30 years as a teacher, someone who cares about his community, who cares about his church, and who was an example of a loving father and husband. I'd like to take another minute while I'm standing here to speak to all the trainers here if I could. If you want to make a difference in a community, in the lives of students, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and academically, I could recommend that you seriously look at being a trainer in a high school. You have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people as Radar has, Lloyd Knott, the trainer in our community, and Dale Crock before he passed away. To do that, you will be required to have a teaching degree in most locations where you try to do it. Just as a coach wants to get in to be a college coach, many start in high school. I recommend that all the young trainers in here to seriously look at that and not limit yourself to not having a teaching certificate. If you limit yourself, you may be passing up the opportunity in a lifetime. As my brother Leroy told me just recently, when we were talking about Radar and Lloyd and Dale, he said, "Harry, if I had to do it again, I would be a trainer in a high school." Because he said, I could have made a difference in the lives of more people. Folks, we're here for a short period of time. We can help people that have got injuries, but we can do more than, and I say we, I still can't get away from this. We can do more to help people, and I think being a trainer in a high school is a tremendous way of doing it. Radar, on behalf of our entire community, I want to say thank you for all you've done. On behalf of my wife, Susan, and me, thank you for taking care of our girls while they were participating in athletics at Newnan High School. As a school board member in Coweta County, I want to say thank you for a job well done. Congratulations, buddy. You definitely earned it.
Harry, thank you. These two groups of tables right here from my county, I've got 3 of the 4 head football coaches I've worked for in the last 32 years. Max Bass, Coach Herring, and Coach McDonald. My principal that I'm working for now, Dr. Moore, was not the principal that we had a problem with. He's great. I got 2 of my coaches, Coach Sandlin and Coach Morris. I appreciate y'all being here. I also got an athletic director and 2 guys on the sideline that helped me, Scott Zachary and Dwayne Mitchell. I could not ask for a better support group than I got. But before I leave, I'm going to thank 3 people that means more to me than anybody. My wife, Susan, my 2 boys, Asher and Mason. My wife has dealt with me for 26 years. As she told somebody, I've been married to you half my life. She raised my 2 boys while I was out raising everybody else's kids. And for that, I appreciate that. And for Diane and the nominating committee, I appreciate this honor. Thank you.
Congratulations again. That is the end of our awards. If all the award winners will stay back for a few minutes, we can take some pictures. That would be great. Thank you all for coming today to the awards banquet to recognize all these great athletic trainers that we have here. And thank you for everything you all do and continue doing such a great job and letting everybody in the community know what athletic trainers do and how important we are. Thank you.
For all the athletic trainers that I know and I've worked with, I want y'all to know that y'all mean more to me than anything else. And for Blake Bass, who started off as one of my defensive coordinators and wound up as our superintendent, thanks for everything that you did.